Okay, we'll be learning about strings in this video, and I want to first talk about tuning, and later we'll talk about timing, and we'll have just a very brief introduction to several different string instruments and see how they're similar and how they're different. So first of all, tuning. I have this chart to show you how different instruments are tuned. For example, a guitar is going to have strings tuned to E, A, D, G, B, and E. One of those might be a little bit off. You can get a tool like this, a tuner, to see if you're in tune, or you can compare it to another instrument that's in tune, like a piano or a keyboard. But notice on this chart, 6 strings on a guitar, tuned like this. But if you take just the lowest 4 strings on a guitar, that's the same as the strings on a bass guitar, which we'll see demonstrated in a few minutes. So guitar, all 6 of these, bass, the bottom 4. But notice, if you flip this chart over, and if you can read upside down, these same 4 strings on a bass in reverse order are the way you tune a mandolin or a violin. So there are some repeating patterns in music, and we'll talk more about these other instruments shortly. Next, I want to talk about chords. So often on a stringed instrument, you will be playing multiple strings at the same time, and the placement of your fingers is how you play a chord. Now, on the screen, we will be showing some diagrams of chords for guitar and mandolin. So here's what that looks like in person. On a guitar, some of the common chords are G, and some people use these first 3 fingers, finger 1, 2, and 3. Personally, I'm in the habit of doing it like this. It goes back to playing bluegrass chords too much, I suppose. But however you're comfortable. G and C and D. Again, refer back to those charts we just put up for where to put each finger. G, C, and D. And in the key of G, where you use those chords, if there's a minor chord, it's likely going to be an E minor. Now, notice, if you're playing in the key of G, let's go through the alphabet. G, start over with A, B, C is this one, and D. So the 1st, 4th, and 5th. If you're playing in the key of C, C, D, E, you will have an F and a G with it. So you'll need to know how to play a C, an F, and a G in that key. And the minor would be an A minor. So if you're playing in the key of G, E minor. If you're playing in the key of C, that goes well with an A minor. Let me show you on the mandolin the chords. Again, those charts that we put up on the screen will show you that the fingering is different for the chords on both instruments. But basically, you can do G with 2 fingers or with 3. It depends on how much picking you'll be doing along with the chords. G, move them down the string for a C and a D. Okay, if you're playing in the key of C, you have C, F, G. For minor chords on a mandolin, it's pretty simple. If you're going from a G major to an E minor, you simply lift up this finger. We're out of tune, aren't we? Slightly. And then for a C, an A minor, just lift up that one finger. Lift up your 2nd finger for the minor. One other thing about tuning and chords that's very useful to know is the capo. So this tool right here on my guitar will allow you to play in other keys without knowing necessarily every chord out there. So let's say, for example, we're going to play I'll Fly Away shortly in the key of G. Okay? But what if that didn't really fit my voice range, but that's the only key that I know how to play the song in, and I want to play it higher without learning all new chords? Simply take the capo. If you put it in the first fret, when you play a G, it's actually a G sharp. Second fret would go up to an A. Third fret, A sharp, B flat, and so on. In a bit, we'll do the song Be Thou My Vision in the key of C. So if you learned that in the key of C, you know all those chords, but you're playing with someone who wants to sing it in a different key, pull out that capo. Maybe C feels too high for them. They don't want to just go up a couple. You can go up more steps, and they can drop it down an octave and sing it lower. You can go as high as you want with the capo, but you know, C, C sharp D, D sharp E, there's an F. So capos can be very, very handy, especially when you're playing with multiple people. Maybe they learn to play a song in different keys or have different voice ranges. Okay, now we're going to talk about timing. When you're playing stringed instruments, whether you are strumming, finger picking, or whatever, you need to know something about the timing of the music, and Daniel's going to demonstrate timing on his drum set. So many songs are in 4/4 time. That means there will be 4 beats per measure. You would count it out as 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Daniel, demonstrate the timing of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, stop a second. And when we demonstrate strumming guitar chords, we'll see how that we alternate between bass and strumming. So Daniel, I want you to show me a 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern alternating. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. And some songs, like Be Thou My Vision, for example, are in 3/4 time, or waltz time, where you count to 3 for each measure, like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So Daniel, demonstrate that. So Aiden and I are going to demonstrate how to play I'll Fly Away with him on the bass and me on the mandolin. And keep in mind what you just learned about 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Aiden is going to play the odd notes on the bass, and I'm going to strum the even notes on the mandolin, going back and forth. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now Aiden is going to alternate the notes that he hits on the bass. So in a G, when I'm chording G, he's not just going to hit a G, he's going to go back and forth between 2 different notes. So listen how this sounds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now we're going to switch to guitar. Let me set this down and pick up my guitar, and I'll hand it off to Aiden in a second. But if you're strumming I'll Fly Away on the guitar, you'll be doing the bass and the strumming, so the even and the odd numbers. So it'll go something like this. So notice when I was in G, I would hit this string, strum, and then this string, strum. When I switch to C, I'll hit the 5th string, strum, and then drop down and hit the bottom string and strum. Okay? And also, you may find it convenient to get used to using this pinky That's adding an extra finger for the chord, but that way you don't have to move back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay. But strumming isn't the only way to play a musical instrument. Aiden's going to demonstrate something called finger picking. So, Aiden, you ready to finger pick? So Aiden is going to show us how to finger pick a 4/4 time song like I'll Fly Away. With his right hand, notice he's not strumming all the strings at once with a pick, but he'll be alternating between his thumb, his first finger, and second finger in a pattern like thumb, second, thumb, first, thumb, second, thumb, first. There you go, Aiden. Okay, now we're going to do a 3/4 song, Be Thou My Vision, in the key of C. So remember the 1, 2, 3 beat we were talking about. It'll go like... Notice how with the pick I'm hitting a bass note and then strumming twice. 1, 2, 3. Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's strumming, and more advanced guitar players, once you've practiced a while, you may want to learn some tablature where you're actually playing the melody of the song in addition to the chords. So for Be Thou My Vision, that would be something like... Sorry. And we'll be showing some other videos where we have demonstrations of different young people playing songs with tablature. Finally, I want to talk about stringed instruments that don't have frets. These metal bars that show you where to put your fingers on the left hand. Technically, if I put this finger anywhere between this bar and this bar, it's going to make the right note. It won't sound right if it's on top of the bar, but you have some wiggle room here. But what if you took these bars away? You have to be very precise in your finger placement. So let me set this down and show you. Remember I said that a mandolin and a violin are tuned the same way? Okay, so I'm going to pick up this violin and a bow, which I should have already had out. Pause. Okay, I got the violin out of the case. So this has 4 strings, just like there are 4 sets of strings on a mandolin to go together. But there are no frets. So you have to place your fingers in exactly the right spot. When you're first learning, it can be helpful to put a piece of tape where a fret would go to use as a guide. But it's not as forgiving as an instrument that has frets, because if you are slightly off, the note will be too sharp or too flat. The other difference is that these instruments like violin, cello are bowed instead of strummed with a pick or finger picking. Although, as we'll see on the cello, you can pluck it with your fingers. But typically, you'll take a bow, you will put rosin on the bow so it will have grip on the strings to make a sound. And it's important to keep your bow perpendicular to the strings. You don't want to turn it this way or this way. You'll be screeching and squawking and making all the neighbors mad. Keep it nice and smooth and perpendicular. Now notice this bridge is curved So it is possible to hit 2 strings at the same time, depending on the angle of your bow, but never more than 2 strings at once. Usually you'll just be doing a melody on 1 string at a time, but if you do 2 together, that's a double stop. So we'll pause for a minute and show how this works on a bigger instrument like a cello. On a cello, the strings are tuned to A, D, G, and C, so a little bit different from a violin. And I'll show you an example of a double stop. Notice I have tape here in place of fret bars. So for our first note, right here, notice I'm drawing the bow smoothly, perpendicular, right here. But if I hit this note next to it, see how those 2 go together? But I can't possibly hit all 4 notes at the same time with the bow. There are many different types of stringed instruments, but we've sampled some of the most common ones. We've learned about tuning and chords, using capos to transpose. We've learned about timing, 3/4 and 4/4. We've applied this to a couple different songs, I'll Fly Away in 4/4 time and Be Thou My Vision in 3/4 time. There are so many different ways to play even one instrument. Guitar, for example. Do you want to use a pick and strum the chords? Do you want to finger pick? Do you want to play the melody using tablature? The sky's the limit. But don't be afraid to pick up an instrument and try something and expect to mess up. I certainly messed up plenty on the cello, but don't let that stop you. Keep trying, learning, play with other people. Do keep in mind it's important to have the timing consistent and play in the same key. We can play different instruments, we can play with different styles, but when you settle on this is the timing we're going to play with, this is the key we're going to play in, it has a way of bringing everyone's unique talents together in a way that is far better than any one person playing by themselves. So have lots of fun.